Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight.
And now we move on to the Spotlight section, and it's a busy one this week. We have a couple of phones to talk about and some changes that Google have announced and things at conference and betas and all the rest of it. Where should we start? Should we start with the Samsung phone?
We should, and maybe Karen or Sally would take us down this Samsung land, and we're talking about the Edge here, Samsung Edge, and I don't know, frankly, I think that both Samsung and whoever that's trying to copy this, in my never to be humble opinion, I think that the best Edge phone, or the person that introduced us to this slim phone, is, Motorola back in 2016 with the Moto Z. I think that thing was at 5.2 millimeters, and I don't know that the Samsung one is even as thin as that one. So this is not a new thing.
Warren, my only concern about this phone is the battery being really a tiny battery, being 3,900 milliamps. Comparing, and it's not even using silicone carbonate, so I don't know how long will this thing last a whole day, or depending on how people use it. It's just a concerning thing. I don't know. It's not. I would prefer to see, bigger batteries, have it be a little thicker than having skinny phones that don't last all day long.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I think Samsung, though, probably is being a little bit cautious. Remember all that battery gate back in the Note 7, was it? Yeah, Note 7. So I think they're kind of being a little bit on the cautious side of things here.
And the price is very pricey. It's $1,100.
Yeah, and so I think that when it comes to all of this, the thinner the phone is, unless we have some other technology in battery capabilities, definitely are going to have a smaller battery. Because, for example, that Motorola Z that came in 2016 that I mentioned, that thing had, I think, like 2,600 milliamp battery. And I could give them a pass because they had those little pogo pins or whatever, so you could add other mods on there, like say you want to add a speaker, or you want to add some other mods on there. So as for that, I give them a pass on it. But for Samsung, they could at least make it 4,000 milliamp, which probably they could. But anyway, I think, like I said, they're probably being afraid of what happened with that Note 7.
Well, no, actually, the thing is that they are trying to make it as slim as possible. And what made them actually use this battery. Actually, they are trying to beat Apple. And they did. They started before Apple. They released their phone before Apple. So this is one thing. And, I don't know if people will like this. I mean, it's something different. This is, of course, this is obvious. This is a new series, let's call it. Actually, it's not Edge in any way. It's just slim. I don't know why they decided to use the word Edge, but it's a slim phone. It's really thin. I mean, if you look at it's 5.8 millimeters, which is something like other phones. Usually they start from 7 point something, and you call them thin if they are really starting from this. From this thickness. So what can you say about 5.8, which is really, really thin? And they were able to include like some things from the S25 Ultra, which is good, including the main camera. Of course, we can call it the S25 Ultra slim version. Let's call it this way, because they also weren't able to include everything. S25 Ultra, which is something which is normal actually, because of the what they are trying to do is to create this thin phone, and they are trying to see what they can achieve in this term of thickness. So this is what they did, and for me, I like thin phones so much. I like a phone which is that slim and light, but
yeah, you do.
not that battery at all. So if I'm going to choose between a thicker phone which has better battery, I'm going to use it, of course. So for this reason, I think they missed this. If they just added slightly, like maybe what would it include? I don't think that it would include. It won't add so much to the thickness, but having less than 4,000 milliamp power, it's something like it's not good into 2025.
These guys here, they're counting this as, whatever. But like, I think they should, the credit should go to Motorola, because whether Apple or Samsung, they're adapting this. They're not the first on here. And I mean, we're talking 9 years ago when Motorola came up with this, and it was 5.2, not even 5.8. So nothing new here under the sun, right?
Well, here's the thing about this phone. You're making a slim phone, but the size is the same as like the flagship phones. And what is even more bothering is that they're going to replace the Plus, and instead of Plus, they will release Edge versions starting from S26. This is just a rumor, but even thinking about it made me so go mad. I'm using S25 Plus. Some people don't want to go for the regular base model or the Ultra, so Plus is the best for them. There are people like me, but no, if they're going to remove it and go with Edge, this is absolutely nonsense, since it's going to have less battery capacity comparing to the base model. So I don't see this as a good strategy for the future. So probably, I mean, it's maybe too early to say, but maybe my next one is not going to be Samsung.
I think I agree with what Karin said, though. They probably should have given it a different line instead of calling it the Edge, because frankly, it should have something that distinguishes it from the other ones. So maybe Samsung Slim or whatever you want to call it. But definitely the Edge designation is probably not the best implementation or designation here.
Only time will tell, depending on how they do with sales. If the thing flops with sales, they go back to the drawing board and come up with a better product. That's how I think is going to be the eventual either downfall or success of this line.
What you have to remember about Samsung as well is that they will cannibalize their own lines. So Samsung release so many phones. Yeah, they will. If it doesn't work, they will crowd other products into the market, won't they? That is what they do.
It's a trend, and it won't stay for long, I think, because as some reviewers are already saying, this is something that nobody asked for, actually. So people don't care. I mean, maybe people were caring like some years ago, but now people don't care. They want better batteries. They want, and something which is important here is, if you are having this phone and you want to protect it, you may be needing to use a thick case to like something durable. So it will actually defeat the purpose of the whole idea. So you will be getting at the end of the day something which is not as you wanted it to be. So I think this is also a problem. So I can say that I don't think that they will sell this device won't sell like they want it to be, because of actually also for example, now it's released. So if you look at I think the S25 Ultra is now the same price as this one. So because it was released earlier. So the thing is, I don't know, like there will be people who like this, but is the number actually something that they can count on? Actually, I think that most people will go with the S25 Ultra at that stage, and they will just forget about this one. So I'm really not sure what are they going to do, and if this thing is going to sell well. And I hope that it won't be selling well. Like, although as I said, I really like this type of phone, but when it comes to battery life, I think most people, including me, will just like prefer the battery life. Even those people who are not tech savvy, who don't care, who just care about the design and will consider this design as something special, they will like be put off by the idea of this very small battery.
I hear you, Karen, and frankly, in 2025, there's no way under heaven that I'll buy a phone with a 4,000 milliamp battery, unless, of course, it has some magic whereby it makes the battery last longer than one should expect from such a capacity. There's no way under heaven that I'll be buying a phone with 4,000 milliamp battery as my main daily driver. I can't see me doing that. Anything short of 5,000, it's not going to work. So I don't know. But most people probably wouldn't even know. I mean, I'm talking about the average Joe out there. Most people, it's just those of us who are Android enthusiasts that know about, these specs of the phone. Most people have no clue as to what the specs are. They just go there to the store, and the store person tells them, hey, look at what we got. They look at it, looks pretty. That's all that matters, right?
So it has the 8 Elite, Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is the same that we have in the S25 other devices. It's 163 grams, which is really great. I mean, it's something like nice to have it in a high-end device. From Samsung, it's something great. At this year, I mean, in this year, you have to have something 163 grams. It's nice. It's the same as the S25 Ultra regarding the protection and the screen, except for the anti-reflective coating, which is not in the S25 Edge, which is some people want to be happy with because of the durability that you get under sunlight when you in bright environments when you are using the S25 Ultra because of this anti-reflective coating. It's IP68 water and dust resistant, which is also good. We are talking about 6.7 inch. I think the S25 Ultra is 6.8, so it's like the S25 Plus. It's having the Corning Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 protection. I think it will be getting the 7 years of upgrades, like the other S25 series, if it can stay for that long because of the battery, actually. Regarding the RAM and the storage, we are talking about 256 gigs of storage with 12 gigs of RAM, or 512 gigs and also 12 gigs of RAM. So there's no 8 gigs of RAM, which is good. But there's no 1 terabyte. Warren, sorry about that. And the cameras actually
what a letdown! What a letdown!
So you can't buy this device.
No, I can't.
So and regarding the cameras, the main camera should be the same as the one in the Ultra, but it's not the same one that you get. The ultra wide is not the same one. Well, most people don't care. I mean, most blind people don't care about that because it should be capable actually to take good photos anyway, especially and for actually it should be capable of getting you some decent photos for OCR. So even if it has this downgrade, and so these are the important things about this device. So let's call it, actually it doesn't have the S Pen, of course. So let's call it it's similar to the S25 Plus in some areas and similar to the S25 Ultra in some other areas. So yeah, it's combination between some Ultra features and some Plus features.
Sony has also released a phone, or at least announced it for pre-order, which is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 7. And as for Sony, it's another amazing phone, hardware-wise. It's quite expensive, at least in the UK, though, almost £1,400 for a phone that's going to be 256 gig and I think 12 gigs of RAM. There are rumored to be 512, 16 gig variants. I'm not sure if they are available in your market, but they supposedly exist. It apparently has 4 years of software updates and 6 years of security updates. I do love Sony phones. I do love the hardware, but they are awfully, awfully expensive.
Hooray for Sony. They're finally trying to catch up some, especially there in that update department. 4 years of OS support and 6 years of security patches. I think that's Sony is finally rolling around. And the one thing, though, even though I don't see me buying a Sony phone, even though I would love to, the only thing that holds me back from buying the Sony phone is not neither the price nor whatever, but that fact that I like being on the cutting edge of the OS and all of that. I just couldn't see me doing that. But the one thing I like about them that no one else is doing, and all of these thieves that are cheating us, they got that headphone jack and they also have that SD card. So frankly, in as much as I don't care about Sony, I think I tip my hat off to them because they really have kept, that the faithfuls, believing in them, and by keeping these two features of the phone that now these companies have removed away from us because they now want us to pay subscription models to have all the that cloud storage and all of that. I mean, it's like this is so if whether you get a 256 gig of the internal storage of the Sony phone, this supports up to 2 TB of SD card. So if you got a 2 TB SD card and you slap that thing on, you got 2 point something whatever TB. And so frankly, all these thieves that are keeping us away from SD card, I know, Ed, you say, oh, you don't want a SD card, but I think Sony says different.
Well, the first thief was actually Google, because it's the first one who started this trend. So
Oh boy, yeah,
you should be careful.
I should be careful. Well, but Google had never made bones about this, because from the get-go, they didn't include SD cards, right? Earlier on, they are the very first ones that didn't want SD card, of course. And I think maybe they were thinking down the road, we're going to be able to charge for this storage. So they were forward-thinking people. Hey, we should not get them used to this. Rather, we should just think down the road, we're going to be charging money for the storage, and so we'll sell them this cloud storage and all of that. So I think, yeah, you're right. The first thief is Google when everyone else was doing SD cards. And then, remember those ads where Samsung was taunting the guys on the Fruitvale side of things that, hey, you guys don't have an SD card. And guess what? Samsung did the same thing. Kind of idiotic, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's an expensive phone, though. It really is. It's got some amazing features, but for quite, low internal storage, you can put an SD card in it, sure, but that's going to run slowly. I don't know. They're great phones. I love Sony's. I had the one 4 years ago, I think. I had the Xperia 1 Mark III, and it's great. But I don't know, the price looks really high.
One of those, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them actually was like $2,400 or $2,500. So, Sony is very expensive. But I've always said, they kind of try to live on past glory, basing it on the name and the brand and all of that. But yeah, when it comes to hardware, they do stuff right, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow, and most especially with the limited number of years of updates. But I mean, like I've said, they've kind of improved now. 4 years is not bad. I think I would be able to live with 4 years if I really like the phone.
Yeah, I mean, the audio quality is amazing, especially if you use the right headsets, and they support so many codecs on Bluetooth to make that amazing. I'm not too fussed about that. But like this phone at 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gig storage is coming in at £1,400 in the UK, which is a lot. Like, that's an awful lot. You know, I can get an S25 Ultra with 1 terabyte storage probably for less than that.
What's the amount in dollars?
I don't know.
$1 equals how much? How many dollars?
Yeah, well, it's not always priced like that, even if it does. So it's about 1.2, normally 1.3, but that's not necessarily how it's
I'm
priced.
trying just to get the average price.
Yeah.
Which is it's about like 1,500 something.
No, that's what it'd be more than that.
Yeah, but what they will do, usually they may not even charge it based on the conversion, from the pounds. They charge it, based on the region. So they may decide to charge it at the same price at maybe 13 something here in the States.
Alexa says it's 1,800 odd. So whether they charge that or not, it looks expensive, even though like the hardware is amazing.
Another problem is that it's not available in all countries. Actually, its availability is very limited, and they just they left some countries a few years ago. So actually, I don't know. And maybe Google has better availability in countries, and you know how poor is
exactly
Google.
Like, I think they will be selling mostly in Asia and Japan.
And one thing I haven't checked, and I know everyone thinks this is amazing, they used to have the fingerprint sensor in the side button. And I always hated that. I think a fingerprint sensor should be either on the screen or on the back. Because if you want to unlock your phone just to see what's on your lock screen, you have to use the wrong finger. Otherwise, your phone will actually unlock. And that's not necessarily what you want. So I haven't actually checked whether that's changed on the One Mark 7, but I don't think a fingerprint sensor should ever be on the unlock button.
It's just
It's still the same.
placement. Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Ed, you and I are the one that hate that implementation. I don't like that either. But yeah, that's still the case. They haven't gone back. Sony's very stubborn. They believe in their traditions, and so hey, we're not going to change this. We're talking Sony here. We are Sony, so we keep it, consistent.
They're lovely phones, though, folks. I have owned the One Mark 3. They are lovely hardware, just ridiculously expensive. And now we'll move on to talk about some other things in the Spotlight section. We'll talk about Android 16 Beta 4.1, won't we, Warren?
We do. And of course, that same day that Google dropped that Android 16 Beta 4.1, it was that very same day that we have that Android show, the Google I/O whatever to next week's Google I/O. So they had the Android part of it because it's going to be so much there on that day when we get to hear what's going on in Google I/O, which tells me that lots of all of that is going to be about the AI. But yeah, so we had that dropped on the same day on Tuesday the 13th. Was it Tuesday the 13th? Yeah, that was it. So there are some 9 fixes there, Ed, and I think you and I were thinking that Google is going to roll out the final public release of Android 16 on the Google I/O. But now I think you and I are wrong. It's going to be that June. I think they're keeping to that June release. Yeah, release.
Yeah, they've said, haven't they? They've announced it.
Yeah, they did.
I think. Yeah, we were wrong.
So, but for the little update, there were 9 issues here that were fixed with that 4.1 update. And here are the list of those bugs that were fixed. So 1, fixed an issue that impacted haptic performance. 2, fixed an issue that impacted 4K video recording at 4x telephoto. 3, fixed the weather map disappearing. 4, fixed lock screen shortcut triggering with a single tap. 5, fix an issue where the microphone indicator is stuck on the on. 6, fixed an issue where audio fails to play from the NDK. 7, fix a constant battery drain. I think all of us can speak to that, which is a good one. 8, fix a black navigation bar appearing on transitions. And last but not the least, fixed a Google app crash when loading a website. So those are the 9 fixes there. We'll put the URL in the show notes.
Thank you, Warren. Is there anything else we want to say about Android Show from this week?
Well, the Android show talked a lot about some of the developments going on. Of course, we saw the demonstration of Gemini and some of those things, as well as that headset, the XR thing. So I think that we're going to see a lot of stuff during the Google I/O, but it's going to be so massive that I think they decided to do this early so that it's not in the way. But I think we have exciting stuff coming on that we may be seeing, but I'm looking forward to all those improvements and things like that. But what I don't like, Google always says that to be coming later this year or in a few months, and sometimes a few months wind up being a year or better. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?